Hello friends, welcome to Código Amat. In today's video I am going to explain how the AP code affects future shipments of various documents. The most important concept of today's video will be sending itineraries. I will start with the video, let's go. At the top of the first page, we can see the help pages we can refer to for more information on today's video. Within all the help pages, we can see many codes. The most important ones are fax, email, EML, EMLA, IEP, IEPJ, IBD, and IBP. I will briefly explain the other codes because they are less important in the context of sending itineraries. HEIAP was already explained in the previous video, which I recommend you watch to better understand the information I am going to discuss next. HEFAX allows access to help pages mainly related to sending faxes. HE-email allows access to help pages mainly related to sending emails. Regarding HE-email, there are several codes. The most important are EML and EMLA, which I will talk about in today's video. HERIR allows access to help pages about everything related to notes that can be included in an itinerary to add additional information that does not appear in the PNR. HE-language allows access to help pages about everything related to modifying the general language of Amadeus or the language of a single document. Regarding HE language, there are several codes. The most important are JGD and JGU, which I will talk about in today's video. IEP, IEPJ, IBD, and IBP are used to send itineraries. The last help page I am going to mention is WRA. WRA is not directly related to the AP code, but I am going to talk about it because, like IEPJ and IBP, is used to print documents. IEPJ and IBP are used to print itineraries that are sent to our clients. However, WRA affects the printing of PNRs. That is, I make a brief mention of WRA in this video presentation because sometimes codes that serve similar functions are confused. HEWRA allows access to help pages especially related to PNR printings, and WRA/RH is a transaction that is only used to print histories or PNR records. I have already finished with the help pages that serve to expand on the information from today's video. Before concluding the video presentation, I am going to explain two particular situations, 1 and 2. Let's start with the first one. There is a way to send itineraries outside the Amadeus system. We can copy the information we are interested in from the IBD or IEP and paste it into the text of a message that will be sent from our own email. This situation can occur when we don't want to send all the information provided by the IVD or IEP screen. It can also happen when we want to modify the format of the technical terms that appear on the IEP or IVD screen to adapt them to language that is more understandable for our clients, okay? Another particular situation is this one. That can occur when we send an email without leaving Amadeus and with all the information that Amadeus provides us. In this case, I consider it a particular situation because the client asks us to send the information to an email address different from the one that appears in the PNR's APE segment, okay? Therefore, we will send the message with the travel itinerary or other documents to the mail address that the client gives us at the last minute without leaving Amadeus. To do this, instead of using the EMLA code, which is linked to the email address of the APE segment in the PNR, we will use the EML code, which is usually used in transactions to send messages to email addresses provided to us at the last minute. Let's move on the second page of today's video, okay? On the second page and on the third page, I will talk about everything related to sending emails and faxes. I will start with what emails and faxes have in common, okay? Free texts and cute texts can go together in the same transaction. Free texts are understood, we continue here. Free texts are understood as those texts that are written at the very moment the transaction is made. And cute texts are understood as those texts that are attached to the transaction by adding the word append, followed by a dash and the number of segment or queue in which a text that was previously written is located. Another thing that emails and faxes have in common is this one. Both are used to send general travel information, travel itineraries, or other travel documents. Now I am going to explain separately the differences and possible transactions that exist in sending faxes and emails. I will start with faxes. With the transaction IEP, fax, SP, and the number of fax, we can send a travel itinerary to the fax number listed in the transaction with the letters SP in front to indicate that the destination country is Spain. SP are the two first letters of the word Spain. The reason for putting it in English is so that any travel agent with access to the PNR from anywhere in the world knows the exact location of that fax number. If that transaction, also called PNR, is going to be used only by travel agents who live in Spain, we can write ES, as you can see in this example, instead of SP. That way, the location of the fax number will be understood by all natives whose mother tongue is Spanish. In any case, the two-letter code that identifies the country is not mandatory. Its sole purpose is to help understand the recipient's location. With the next transaction, Sorry, I am here. Here, okay? We can send general travel information by writing it in the form of a message with a free text. A semicolon, this one, is written before the free text. After the free text, a slash and the English word send are written. The transaction you can see here allows sending general travel information in the form of a message with free text while simultaneously adding queued text which is appended at the end of the transaction by writing the word append followed by a dash and the number of the segment or queue in which the text that was previously written is found. With the transaction IEP -faxn-hose, we can send a travel itinerary to the fax number that appears in the PNR that is linked to a passenger named Jose. Amadeus is able to connect the passenger's name and the fax number associated with the traveler in the PNR. To make that connection, Amadeus needs us to write the letter N, a hyphen, and the passenger's name. Let's go to the third page. On this page, I will explain two pieces of information. One, two, that only affects emails. Next, I am going to explain transactions that can be carried out to send emails to our customers. This transaction, this one, and another one, okay? Here, EMLA is used when we want to send information to the email that appears in the APE segment of the PNR. EML is used when we want to write the email address on the go at the same time when we are sending information to our customer. In the transactions we will see below, the first two, this one and this one, we can replace EML and the email address, this part of the transaction, with EMLA when we want to use the email that appears in the APE segment of the PNR. This transaction allows sending general travel information by writing it in the form of a message with free text. Before the free text, the email address is written followed by a semicolon, excuse me. After the free text, a slash and the English word send are written. Next transaction, this one, okay? We can send general travel information by writing it in the form of a message with free text, while at the same time adding queued text, which is appended to the end of the transaction by writing the word append, followed by a dash and the segment or queue number in which a text previously written in the PNR is found, okay? With this transaction, which is bigger here, is the same, IBV, EML, and the email address, we can send a travel itinerary to the email address that appears in the transaction. We can replace that transaction with IEP-EMLA whenever we want to send the travel itinerary to the email that appears in the segment APE of the PNR. We see here that the IBV and the email address are replaced by IEP, just like in the two previous transactions, this one and this one. We can replace EML, the email address, with EMLA. Okay, so please compare this and this transaction with this situation, please. Okay, to see the difference between each other. Okay. Let's move to the next pages to better understand this situation. Okay, this situation will be understood much better with this page and these pages. Okay, so let's go for this one. On the next page, I will explain several pieces of information that are common in the codes IBD, IBP, IEP, and IPPJ. The four codes, are generally only used to send travel itineraries to clients. They are generally not used to send receipts, tickets, or general information, okay? They are usually used when we have not yet issued the tickets and when we have not yet done TTP or TTM. TTP is used when we give the order to issue a ticket, and TTM is used when we give order to issue an EMD. TTP and TTM will be explained in future videos. Let's move on to more information common to these four codes. Here. The reservation, also called PNR, should be retrieved before using IBV, IBP, IEP, or IEPJ. The IEPJ code and IBP code are used to print itinerary that are simultaneously being sent to the clients, okay? Here, to print itineraries. Now I am going to explain something very important about languages in the final part of this page, okay? Here. Information that affects these four codes when we want to change the language of the itineraries that will be sent. The transaction IEP-EMLA/LP-EN and the transaction IBD/LP-EN are used to change the language of itineraries of the type IEP and IBD type. The letters LP refers to language preference. EN refers to the English language. The IEP code, this one, is counterpart of the IEPJ, and the IBD code is counterpart of the IBP code. With the previous two transactions, we can change the itinerary language without changing Amadeus language. In the presentation of this video, I am here. I already explained that the help page to understand all the language modification is called HE language. JGD is used to modify the general preferences in Amadeus configuration in our office, which includes the language. JGU is used to modify the general Amadeus language for all functions of this software in our office, including itinerary dispatches. In the next four pages, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I will analyze the codes IEP, IEPJ, IBD, and IBP by forming different pairs. The first pair is IEP, IEPJ, and the second pair is IBD plus IBP. I start by analyzing things that IEP and IEPJ have in common. The RIR, and please follow the list, is used to write additional notes in the reservation, also called PNR, with the extra information that should appear in the itinerary we are going to send. RIR type notes are not mandatory in IEP and IEPJ type itineraries. Generally, IEP and IEPJ are used when we already have an IAPE type segment in the reservation and when we want to use the email address that appears in that segment using the EMLA code. Both codes include information about cars and hotels in the itineraries. Both codes include a copy of the PNR and copy of the itinerary in the dispatches made with both codes. The prices that must appear in the itineraries are considered additional notes, which I have already mentioned before. I mentioned it here and here. Now I am speaking about the prices, okay, here. Both IEP and IEPJ are very useful for changing airline tickets. Now I am going to analyze this page, okay? The differences that exist between IEP and IEPJ. With IEP, we send itineraries without printing them. With IEPJ, we send itineraries while printing them at the same time. Please follow the list, okay? With IEP, we send itineraries separately to all the email addresses that appear in the PNR by default. But with IEPJ, we send all the itineraries together to the main email of the reservation by default. This is very important, okay? If we want to send the itinerary separately to different email addresses, we must add /P and the affected segment number of the passenger we are interested in, or /L and the affected segment number of the FA type we are interested in at the end of the transaction. Now I am going to explain some transactions that can be carried out with both codes here, okay? EMLA is generally used, although sometimes the transaction IEP, EML and the email address can be used when the clients ask us to replace the email address of the APE segment with another email address provided at the last minute. This transaction allows sending regular itineraries without including free text or queued text. This transaction was already explained in the transactions for sending faxes, okay? So it's this one. And the next transaction, exactly the same, okay? This one was explained here, okay? Finally, IEPJ-EMLA also allows sending regular itineraries without including free text or queued text, exactly the same, but with one difference. With this transaction, we print the itinerary. Let's go to the last page. I will start with things that IBD and IBP have in common. Generally, both codes are used when we don't have an API element in the reservation, and when we don't want to use the EMLA code to send the itineraries. Now I will explain things that are different, okay, between both codes. With IBD, we send itineraries without printing them. With IBP, we send itineraries while printing them at the same time. Now I will explain some transactions that can be carried out used IBP and IBD, okay? I will take this example. You can replace IBD, leaving the final part of this transaction in the same way. We can change IBD and put IBP, okay? The rest of the transaction is exactly the same, okay? The only thing you can change is the first part, this code, okay? So, with this transaction, we can send normal itineraries, no free text included, and no cute text message included. Before finishing the video, I will make a brief comment about the RIR code. I was speaking about this code here, here, and here. This code should not be confused with other codes used in Amadeus to write notes or send internal messages that take the form of annotations, okay? So, some of those codes are this group of codes. The first one, RM, is used to make general notes in the PNR. The second one, RX, is used to make notes in the PNR that can only be seen by employees of the same business group in which the travel agent who made the note works. The third code, RC, is used to make notes in the PNR that can only be seen by employees of the specific office in which the travel agent who made the note works. RII is used to make notes in Amadeus travel offers, and RIZ is used to make notes in the ITRs, okay? SR is used to make notes about the special requirements in the PNR. OP is used to create notes that are similar to alarms created in the PNR to set reminders for tasks that are pending to be carried out in the future. And finally, OS, which is used to send annotations in the PNR in the form of internal message to the affected airline. OS type messages are usually one way, meaning they are not typically responded to by the airlines. Friends, we have come to the end of the video. The following videos will run in the same way that I have made. That is, explaining each of the parts of Amadeus as extensively as possible. Remember to subscribe and like this video if you liked this video. Don't forget to share it with anyone who might be interested. It would be a good gift, both for those who need a booster and for those who didn't get a feel for the program. Above all, it would be a good gift for the latter, who now have a second chance with my videos to take advantage of the time and money allocated in the past, and that they will finally be able to make profitable. Thank you very much, and I will tell you the same thing as always. Love to be loved.